Yes, 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 and yes. We are back with the Make Your Dog Epic podcast, and I'm joined here today by a guy named Joel Silverman. I met him at a dog training course that he put on that's for film and TV. So it teaches you how to train dogs and how to do it on set, which is much different than just training dogs in general. I've read multiple of his books. I have his rituals book. I have his What Color Is Your Dog book. He's done commercials. He's been on movies. He's done a ton of stuff. I let him introduce himself. Joel Silverman, welcome to the Make Your Dog Epic podcast. How are you, sir?
I am doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Well, I am super pumped to have you. And basically, what I really want to cover is first, how did you get into? Tell me about your history and how did you get into dog training and where'd you kind of start?
So basically what happened was I had a dog when I was like about 12, 13 years old. Her name was Shadow that I trained. And I just trained her on my own as a kid, and stuff. And at the same time, my parents, I grew up in Southern California. My parents were both teachers. So during the summer, we were off. So we would always go to SeaWorld every summer. So, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, but I came 12, 13 years old when I trained this dog. I started being very interested in looking at I was looking at the um, killer whale trainers and the dolphin trainers and stuff. And I was just really fascinated by what they did. And so just kind of, 12, 13, 14, and all of a sudden became 15 years old. And I realized I kind of wanted to be a trainer. And so I went there and they said they're like, at the time, they hired people right in the park. So people were hired from the park operations department, the people that picked up trash, people that were food and beverage. I mean, those were people that got hired as trainers.
Really?
It wasn't a lot school or anything like that. It was just about having your foot in the door. So I got my foot in the door. I moved down there, worked, picked up trash, got to know the trainers and stuff like that. I was a little young. I was about 16, 17 years old. They sent me back up to a college called Moore Park College. They have a wild animal training program. It's like an East Simi Valley area.
Okay.
And so it's very, very tough to get into. It's like 30 openings and it's called Exotic Animal Training and Management. So I got into that, program, went through that program. And as I went through that program, I started meeting some people as I was getting ready to graduate that were doing one of the guys that had left, had graduated, went to do the show at Universal Studios, do the animal show. At the time, they had dogs, birds, cats, they had a chimpanzee as well. And so, and I did some wild animal work a little bit at Moore Park College as well. So I was there for a short period of time, but I still had this, dream of SeaWorld and stuff. And I'd been at SeaWorld, worked there for, 3 or 4 years prior. They hired me. I went to work at Universal for a short period of time. They hired me. I went to work at SeaWorld. I was there for, I think, for about 3 or 4 years. At that time, I spent a lot of time working with marine mammals, killer whales and stuff. You see the pictures in back of me with the killer whales and stuff. And novelty kind of wore off after, and I was making $6.25 an hour for doing that for, it's a very, very, it could be risky. And I went back to Universal, started doing the animal show, right? And this is about 84, 85.
Okay.
But before I did that, I think I was there. And then once I was there, I went back to work with marine mammals just for about 2 years. I worked at the company that we contracted all the dolphin shows to Six Flags parks all over the United States. And at the time, there were I think we had 12 contracts. And I was one of the trainers that would fly around and do a lot of coordination and stuff like that. So that was kind of fun. And we transported dolphins and things like that. And and then at the time, I had done this, I put the dolphin show at Knott's Berry Farm. And that's where I won this Behavior of the Year award with where the dolphins shoot me out of the water and stuff like that. So in 1986. And so
Yeah.
once I left there, went back to training animals, movies, and commercials. It was about like 86, 87 probably. And that's what I started doing the movie and TV work and stuff and TV series. Empty Nest was like a big credit of mine in the late 80s, actually. And then we were a spinoff of Golden Girls. A lot of people don't know that. And then at the time that I was doing Empty Nest, because of my experience performing in front of people, we shot in front of a live audience, like 300 people. And a lot of times there were wardrobe changes, and they needed to fill in the time. They had a guy there that was a comedian that was always like kind of talking to the audience, but they had me work the dog, so I'd work the dog in between, and then I would talk to people. When it was somebody that was there, one year I was there, they were like, "Hey, listen, we want to do a video." And we want you to come out to Salt Lake City, we want Provo, Utah, and do this video because we do an incident commercial, and we want you to be in. Oh, long story short, so it was called the Hollywood Dog Training Program. So if people Google that, you'll see that video. But we had shot that video was shot in 1989, I believe, and and they still sell it on eBay and stuff like that. So that's my very first video that I did. And then 10 years later, so what happened was I left Empty Nest and started kind of going off my own. I really wanted to do a lot of stuff on camera. So you went through ups and downs in the 2000s probably, but in the mid 2000s started writing books. My first book was What Color Is Your Dog? Then I did a follow up called More What Color Is Your Dog? Which we'll talk a little bit about probably. And then did a book called Take Two, Training Solutions for Rescue Dogs as well. Those books really dealt with the training. And then I got into another book, which is called Bond with Your Heart, Train with Your Brain. It's really a self-help book for parents, teachers, managers, and supervisors. It talks about the similarities between really, really good trainers and really, really good parents and good managers, because it's all a lot of empathy and putting yourself in other people's position, whether it's a dog's position or another person's position. I'm it's that golden rule, basically. But it's a
Yeah.
pretty cool book. And my last one was Rituals, which came out about 3 years ago, and as well. So got into doing books, and then I think about really what happened was like in I would say and anyways from 2000 from 1997 to 2014, we all fall into different categories doing movie work and commercials. So during this entire time, I've always been a movie animal trainer. But IAMS called me up to do I did a commercial for them in 1997, and I developed a relationship with the agency, and that agency would call me directly for 17 years. I mean, for 17 years, I did like almost all of the IAMS commercial, national commercials, print ads, a lot of stuff for Japan and England and stuff like that. So it was a really, really good run. I probably would still be doing it, but they had got bought by Pedigree. They got bought out by Mars. I'm sorry, 2014. So and then 2000, in about 7 years, so I launched these dog trainer certification courses, and I really kind of kicked myself because I really wish I would have done that a long time ago because I really enjoy teaching people. But I certified about 450 people. We do a basic and we also an advanced course. And then about 4 years ago, I did launched this dog training workshop tour with Larry Crone and Jay Jack, two guys, really, really awesome trainers. And so I kind of created that whole thing because I met them at a national conference I was speaking at. And so we go out about 6 times a year. That keeps me pretty busy with those guys. And then about 2 years ago, that's where I met you. We launched a film and TV course. My buddy Brian Renfro, who actually I don't have to train dogs from a long time ago. We launched that course a couple of years ago, and it's been going really, really good. And we'll talk a little about that as well. And so right now, as of right now, at 65 years old, I live in Florida. I make my money really being on the road, so six times a year with Larry and Jay, and then 3 to 4 times a year with Brian, doing the film and TV courses.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. And you're super busy. And I'll show this real quick because this is where I met you, is at the dog training for film and TV course. And
Right.
just for people who want to sign up, that website is joesilverman.net, and that's where
Mm-hmm.
you want people to go. And then
Yeah,
they
right there.
can,
Yep.
and then you can go to workshops and you click the film and TV course, and you have one coming up in Dallas, April 22nd and 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're gonna be there in like 2.5 weeks,
oh,
basically.
that's awesome. And you have a couple spots open? Is that
We have 2 spots open. Yeah, we actually have two
awesome?
spots open. Love to fill the 2 spots. We're looking for people that just basically, hey, if you train dogs, even if you're not a professional dog trainer, but you train dogs, you have a trained dog, and you're looking to be a movie and TV animal trainer. The whole point is we're going to places other than LA,
Yeah.
because the bottom line is there are production companies all over the world, all over the United States and all the different cities. And we show people kind of how to set up their own business, and most importantly, do a lot of practical training. And because a lot of the training that people do with their dogs is just very different than what we do as movie animal trainers. You went through our course, and everything we do is very horizontal. A lot of things that
Yeah.
people do is very vertical and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. So I appreciate you promoting it there.
Yeah, well, there's a ton of differences because I come from the dog obedience world, but that world, even though it's still dog training, I would say it's so different,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to on the spot sometimes teach a new behavior right then, so
Mm-hmm.
you don't always have weeks or months or years or whatever to prepare with this animal,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's not even yours, and you've also worked with not just dogs. You've worked with multiple different animals.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that. How many different animals have you worked with, and what would be your favorite?
Well, I've worked a lot of different types of birds. I tell people all the time it's not just one bird. I mean, I've worked with pigeons. At the time that there's a company I was working with called Birds and Animals Unlimited, when I first started in the 80, after I left. The guy that I learned from Universal Studios' name was Ray Berwick. And what happened was there was a guy named Gary Giroux that worked for Ray in the '70s, late '70s, Gary went off on his own to build a company called Birds and Animals Unlimited, which is largest one of the largest film and TV suppliers and trainers in the business. They have really good trainers, and I worked for Gary. So Gary did Homeward Bound. He did, he does a lot of Disney movies and stuff like that. And they really good guy. And so that's where I'm sorry. So that's the question, guys. I went off on a tangent. So the question was, how many different types of animals? So Gary, working for Gary, which kind of got me into it, is that Gary's a really good bird trainer, and we supply birds. We we had pigeons. Okay, these different colored pigeons like black. We trained pigeons to fly from point A to point B, groups. We had the only pigeons at the time. These pigeons were working all the time. I mean, they were constantly working. And we were down in Orange County. We had an area down in Orange County. He has a really nice facility down there, and then we had the pigeons down there. So, but we would go. The pigeons just alone would work a lot. But we had ravens. Ravens are incredibly smart. We had ravens as well. The ravens worked all the time as well. Seagulls, seagulls are something you can literally catch at the dump in the morning and work them in the afternoon. If you're working them on a line or a monofilament, you can actually train them to go from fly to point A to point B. And so, but a lot of, we dove work, eagle, worked with eagles, worked with hawks and things like that. So a lot of birds, a lot of different types of birds, worked with a lot of cats as well. But all these animals have different personalities. They're all really, really very, very different. I have worked with chimps and orangs early on in my career as well. I've handled, wolves and mountain lions and things like that were trained for movies and commercials too. I wouldn't consider myself like a really, really great trainer of those animals
Sure.
and stuff like that, but I've handled them. But then of course marine mammals, dolphins, sea lions, a lot of different types of California sea lions primarily. And then North American river otters and then river otters. This is at SeaWorld. Those are the animals that normally in those shows. And work with penguins. We had actually penguins. I worked for Gary. We also had penguins. Gary Giroir. We also had some penguins as well. And then of course killer whales. So and dolphins. And the different types of dolphins. Pacific white-sided dolphins, which are smaller ones, which are kind of like black on top and white on the bottom, and they have like a blunt nose. They're considered a porpoise, really. And then Pacific and Atlantic bottlenose dolphins, and then Pacific white-sided dolphins. But the killer whales are for sure my favorite animal of all the animals. I just want to throw out all the animals out there, but killer whales are for sure. Because they're so powerful, and they're so when you have a relationship, we talk about in dog training, people just don't realize that unless you get to know one of these animals, that when you can have a relationship with them too. And I know there's some people that are just like as they're in captivity and things like that, but people need to realize that that whether they're you can all agree or disagree whether they should be in a captivity or not. But the bottom line is, I always tell people, the animals I was around and the way I had a relationship with them, they loved doing what they did. They loved the relationship. They liked to work. And they would just lay on their backs and stuff like that, and just rub their stomachs and rub their under their pectoral flippers where it joins right back, almost like their armpit. And they love that area too as well. So it was it was a very, very cool thing. There's a lot of stuff that you just don't see, So I always like to explain to people that, because we spent like 5 or 6 hours a day in the water with these animals when I was there.
Yeah, and I have a clip ready to show of you training a orca, which this clip it genuinely blows my mind. I'm so fascinated by it because I've only ever trained dogs, but you've been training since when did you start training? When you were like 13 years old?
12, 13. Yeah, I started training for my very first dog.
Yeah, and you've been training forever. And so, but orcas are your favorite. I want to show this because this video is so cool to me. So the volume's down low, but I kind of want you to walk through what's going on while we're watching this, because this is you over here on the left.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything yet. So I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
Oh, you're not seeing it?
No.
Let's see
No.
here.
Oh, there we go.
There
Okay,
we
cool.
go. Now we got
Okay,
it.
cool. Yeah, on the left
Technical
right there.
difficulties. So this is you on the left.
Left-hand side. Yep. That's me. And that's a killer whale's gonna do a backflip right there. We did this backflip, which is basically, I think it was like the only backflipping killer whale I think at the time. And so that was pretty cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. And then what's gonna happen is I'm gonna go in and we put a harness on that does like a hoop that doesn't, it only goes to a certain area. Go on the whale. So, and then I go under, well, here we go. Okay, cool. Put in the water. You get on top of the whale. You got to take a breath because you're going to go all the way down to the bottom. It's going to take you 33 feet down in about 2 seconds. 2 seconds, I'm going to be down
Oh, they
33
go all the
feet,
way down.
all the way to the bottom. And she slows down, and then you wrap your feet around her dorsal fin so you don't flop over. So my feet are wrapped around the dorsal
Oh, I
fin,
see
and
that
then
now.
and you got to hold, kind of like use your arms as a shock absorber a little bit there, and then you come down. She's going to go along the bottom. Your back almost goes along the bottom there, rubs your back almost along the bottom as she comes back. You got to hold your breath a long time. That last one there, and there you go. That's
That,
cool.
that is so
It was
cool to
neat, man.
me.
That was a great show. That was a solid show. That was a
That's
great. There were some great whales. That was a great whale. That whale's name was Candu. That was the one of the best, one of the smartest animals I've ever worked with in my entire life. She was an incredible, incredible animal.
that's got to be such a cool feeling going that fast. Because you said she's going 33 feet down in like 2 seconds,
Well,
and
two
then
seconds, and the problem is a lot of guys had sinus problems because even though you breathe out of your nose, you feel this cracking. So what happens is you're breathing out of your nose, but water is rushing, is going, filling up your sinuses, and so and then in the evening, like when you'll lean over, all this water would just come out of your nose. It would just be like out to dinner and stuff constantly. And some
really,
people got some sinus infections too. Yeah, because though it's nobody could ever like explain, like if you go to a doctor, like because nobody ever has been on the back of a killer whale that will take you down 33 feet like in 2 seconds like that. You know what I mean? Especially when you take your first breath and you go back down. I mean, you're on the bottom in like a half a second. It's like boom, so and they're so strong. I mean, you just feel. I was going to tell people that people when you go under, it's really cool because we have the audio, that stadium holds like 4,000 people, 5,000, and so
okay,
what happened was there's this lot of crowd, and then as soon as it's a summer day, we're doing like 6 or 7 of these shows a day, and it's just really weird because when you take a breath and you go down, you see the glass plane, the panes of glass kind of going up. You just
yeah,
take a breath because I always open my eyes underwater anyways. But it's just this really kind of peaceful feeling because you're just away from the crowd and away from everything. And then she goes to the bottom and she stops. She like stops on the bottom for like about half a second, and then it's like boom, boom, and then they fluke. Like to feel the power of a fluke, that flukes the like. I mean, you'll never, nobody will ever know. Like very few people that are living have done what I've done. You know what I mean? And to
yeah.
feel that power is like, I mean, amazing, absolutely incredible.
That's
It's an
it's so cool to me. I'm genuinely fat. Like I could talk to you the whole day about killer whales. But I'm gonna show one more clip about them. And then because this is a dog podcast, I'll switch back to dogs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I genuinely, I'm so fascinated by your life story, the killer whales, because you've done so much. And
Mhm.
so let me show this. Are you seeing it this time?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Now this is
Got it.
a part of the show that these guys created. That I would love to say I trained this stuff, but this stuff was all pretty much done when I was there. So I was just trained, worked the whale, kept the behaviors up. But
Got it.
this is stuff where you go in the water and the whale just kind of mimics a lot of what you're doing and things like that. And it was really really cool. But this whale's name was Candu, and she was a really really great animal, and really really cool. Just had no. I liked her because she had just a great working attitude, and stuff. And just this behavior here is the hardest thing to do because you got to stay between the blowhole and the pectoral flippers, and yeah, it's like really really you got to be
That is
really really
so
super
cool.
careful. Yeah, or the blow. I'm sorry, the blowhole and the dorsal fin. I'm sorry. But you just you just don't
Oh,
want
that
to
is
fall.
so cool.
Yeah, I mean, you fall off. I mean, they're not. I mean, killer whales are funny because they're like, especially if it's not their fault. They're sometimes they do have a little bit of an attitude, and they get pissed off if you fall. So you got to be careful. They do because they know it's not their fault. This is pretty cool. This is neat. Yeah, just your feet and her fluke. Then get back at my feet around her pectoral flippers. Now I just pat 3 pats on her head goes fast. So 3 pats, she'll go fast. Watch this. 3 pats. 1, 2, 3. Boom. She goes really fast. That's it. And then I go down here, put my feet in the air, and then she'll follow that with your feet, your flukes. And then you come
That is
back.
so
And
cool.
this is a behavior change. So now you're back on your back. So she just knows to pick you up. She'll slide, she'll turn over, pick you up. And now you're good. Now she's there. She's going to go to that part of the pool now. You lean over, wave, do the little waving thing. Always weak with that. Her weak one, left one weak. You lean over, she'll that's on your cue. Put your head down there. She'll spray you, and then we if you, I'm doing my feet, and then she does her flukes. Actually, you don't really see her. There is her fluke there. And
Yeah.
then you shake her tail, shake her tongue. Yep, very cool. We go off, and we go down here. And as soon as I touch her nose, now she's going to go parallel. I put my head in her mouth. That's right, crazy. Um, and then now we go down here, and now you just kind of sit on her nose, and she goes up.
Oh,
The audience would love that stuff. The audience thought that was hilarious. They
yeah,
like,
that is
yeah,
hilarious. That's
yeah, it's
awesome.
like funny, yeah. So anyways, they give her a cue. Then she takes off now. So she's going to do a sighting bow in that corner, which you don't see. She does a little biting. So she sees where I am. She'll jump out of the water, and then she'll come back down. I'll hit the water. Boom, she'll jump over me. Comes back down, and she'll do another sighting bow in another corner. She'll jump out of the water again, so she can see where I am. That gives her a chance to see where I am, so she doesn't land on me. And then we go back one more time. Boom, and now she's going to go pick me up. It's pretty cool. Watch her come. Look at it. You can see like comes, just boom, just comes and picks you up right there and takes you right back. That's it.
That is so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is
yeah,
that is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So how I mean that's got to be a crazy. I mean the one earlier I used to say whenever I watched it the first time, and this might be a rational fear or irrational fear, when you are holding on, so you put the harness type thing on,
Mhm.
and then she goes down. Are you ever scared she's not going to come back up, or what? Or how does that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I tell people always ask me about that. They're always like, "Well,
Yeah,
you go to the water, you're scared." I think that what happens is you develop a relationship with them, and it's just like any animal. I mean, like you develop a relationship with them, and it's a good relationship, and you're not thinking in terms of, "Oh, what if this happens? What if this happens?" It's like, hey, it's just. I mean, that's what's interesting about it. I think, and
yeah,
but because I think they do feed on, especially being a dominant animal in the wild like that. I mean, if you're fearful or if you're afraid or you're not confident in yourself, I think they're going to probably cherry pick that a little bit, and stuff.
okay,
And,
sure,
that stuff. They're smart. They're really smart.
yeah. Well,
Dolphins too. Dolphins could be that same way too. And dolphins could be aggressive. I mean, we've had some dolphins at SeaWorld um, I think they did more damage than other animals, to people, so.
that's hilarious. Well, now as it relates to dog training or training in general, where do you think most people like get it wrong? Like, where do you think people's biggest hiccups, when it comes to dog training or any animal training? Where do you think they get it wrong? I know I have
Well, they
my
get
thoughts, but I want to know yours.
oh yeah, oh totally, absolutely. I mean, I've said it over. I say it in my books all the time. You know, the similarities between marine mammal training and dog training are about the bond and relationship. Every animal that I work with, even it's a bird or a cat, something that's primarily food motivated, I still develop a relationship with them. When you have a social animal like a marine mammal or a dog that you can develop a relationship with and develop a love and a bond with, it drives your training. It helps your training. Okay. Understanding that, if you don't know the animal and you start training the animal before you have a relationship, number one is there is no relationship. Okay. And you're missing on the most important thing. But the other thing is you don't know the animal. You need to know the animal. It's like, especially if you're training a dog, and people get a dog from the shelter and they put a collar on the dog, just a regular, collar, a training collar like mine or something like that on the dog, and they handle the head. The dog is like really weird about the neck because or the dog is really soft when you do correct lightly. The dog is just all of a sudden just hits the ground or something like that. I mean, those are things that you don't want to learn. You don't want to learn when you're training the dog. You want to learn before you're training the dog. You need to understand all these different things. So what people get wrong is going into training before the relationship is established. Develop the bond, develop the relationship, get the dog to want to please you, wants to make you happy. If the dog wants to please you and wants to make you happy, training is going to be 100% easier. And you're a perfect example because you brought your dog, your Malinois, which I've told a lot of people. You have this incredible dog, and I'm sure you're not the type of guy that's going to tell people, so I'm going to tell people. But he had this incredible dog, and really one of the best Malinois, I said over and over again. But when you watch that dog work, it's only because of the relationship that you built with this dog. That's what. Not only you also had great training,
Sure.
but you built the bond, you laid that foundation, and that dog is just always wanting to please you, and that's what dog training is all about. And people miss the most important part because they don't have the time. They don't want to take the time to develop that relationship and do that stuff that sometimes it's not the prettiest part of it, or the most fun part.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the other big thing that you guys do well also is you slow everything down. not only for the dog, but also when you're teaching people. So I learned a lot there because I got to see you. Because at these workshops, you're training dogs, you're also kind of training people,
Oh
I
yeah,
would say.
always. We
And,
are.
and you're
Absolutely.
training them on all like little things like, hey, you're diluting the word good because you've overused it and you keep using it. And now the dog actually has no idea what the word good means because you
Hmm.
used it to release the dog. You used it to say it was doing good. You used it when it got off and then got back on or stuff like this.
Hmm.
And so I think that's really good what you guys do there. And then an excerpt from your book, Rituals, that people can buy on, it's on Amazon, it's on your website.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but on page 26, you say every complete behavior is nothing more than a series of small steps, and the earlier steps are the most important.
That's
Talk
and
to me a little bit about that.
Jordan, it's really cool you wrote that because actually that is the most one of the most important things in that book what you just talked about. And I said it before. Everybody wants to go way too quickly. You saw at the event that we do,
Yeah.
whether it's movie, whether it's my course that I do for the my certification courses, the basic and advanced courses, or whether it's the film and TV, or whether it's an event with Larry and Jay. Um, what I see so many times is they don't want to spend the time with those early steps. They don't understand that we break a behavior down into small steps. We work one behavior at the time, part of it at a time. When it's complete, we move on to the next one. You have to know when to move on to the next one. You have to know when to, if your dog is having issues, regress to the last one, or you have to know when to maintain and just build that level and just have that good consistent level before you go to the next level as well. And people get it wrong, and people just go and they want to move too fast. And a lot of people don't realize, and the reason I talked about that as well is that the reason we talk about it is people want to go to these next levels, and these early stages, the foundations are the most important part. I tell people all the time, if you're training your dog to stay, and your dog is in an elevated area, and you've trained your dog to sit and watch you on that elevator, and we've already got, okay, he's great, he's all good for 20 seconds, he's watching you great, and you start stepping back. When you start stepping back, when you take that first step back, it's when you take that first step back and that dog wants to come to you and you start going back even further and further, your dog didn't jump off because you went further and further. Your dog jumped off because you took that first step back. So the point is, if you can rock back and teach the dog and desensitize dog to you rocking back on that first step, the truth is you probably can go back probably 5 or 10 feet, probably pretty good. But it's that first part of the behavior, it's that first movement, and that's what people don't understand, and that's what people get out of the events that we do is just understanding. It's like, okay, I got to build that foundation, I got to build that first part of the behavior first, and then we'll take our time, we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to think about it like when I'm training trainers, I like to tell them, imagine what the dog's seeing. So, because dog's seeing pictures, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you're, especially with the word good, I'm glad. I mean, you talked about that a lot at the event, and other stuff. But if you're, let's take place like you're talking about it. If you place the dog, and somebody's walking back, and they've used good over and over and over to break the dog, and now they're saying good, good, good while they're doing that, or they're like stay, stay. You're revving the dog up, and
Mm-hmm.
you and Brian Renfro, you guys do such a good job, but you're so intentional about your tone and the words you use. Um, what would you say about that as one of the last things, and then I'll wrap it up for you.
Okay, yeah. The one thing I would say is that I tell people make a statement out of question, make it a statement out of question. And it's exactly what you just said. If you go to agility places, I tell people in all my courses, I say it over and over again. If you go to agility places, everything is ready, ready, ready. And that's what they do because they want to build up that drive. They want to be, and even if you're training a dog for PSA and things like that, that's what you want to do. What we do is totally opposite. Okay. So the last thing we want to do is we don't want to go ready because we want the dog to understand. It's like, I want the dog to become natural, not the dog to get all excited. So we do the opposite.
Yeah, and
If
then
we
go
do the
ahead.
opposite. Yeah. Anyway, and the second part of that you were saying, the second question you were asking about.
I was just the intentionality about your tone and the words you use is
Oh,
what I was
okay.
talking about.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And so what we want to do is we want to keep everything neutral. That's the word that's what I want to mention.
yeah,
Everything is neutral. It's like sit, stay, just in the same tone of voice. Sit,
yeah,
lie down, head down. And if you need to put a little bit of pressure, it's like put your head down. That's all we're doing. It's like we're just basically saying head down. If he doesn't put his head down. It's like, whoa, it means something. But again, we're not yelling at the dog. We're just
Correct.
basically, and that's what people. And then the other thing you said real quickly, I use the word. I'm going to work. I'm actually going to. I'm working on a sixth book as
Nice.
well. It's yeah. And anyways, and one of the things we talk about is knowing when to progress and regress and stay neutral and things like that. And I think that's what is really, really super important. People want to be really careful about not diluting things. And you talk,
Yep.
you do a really good job of talking about the good. And if you're saying good, you want good to mean something. It doesn't mean anything if it's said over and over and over again, you know?
Yep.
And the other thing too is the fact there's a lot of people that use what's called the implied stay, and they say, well, it's implied. Well, I'm like, I still don't get that. I'm like, a lot of people use the implied stay, I think, because they were with people that either screamed at the dog saying stay, or they use stay as a drug and they never got off the stay. They never got off the stay. But the truth is, if you can use stay as a crutch early on and help the dog, it's something you could fall back every once in a while with some of these other behaviors. What you saw what we do, even train a dog to stay, and we said we may have used it a lot in the first 3 or 4 days. Well, we don't say it very much anymore, but we used it as a crutch. It's like a drug. Okay. But when you have that foundation, now when you're training your dog to put his head down, stay. Dog's like, okay, cool, I got to stay. I know what this word is. You know, on your side, stay. Head down, stay. Head up, stay. Stand, stay. Bow, stay. You could start doing those things and laying those in there because in that stay, the truth is, and J Jack actually told me that that stay really becomes almost like a good. It really becomes a kind of like an intermittent marker, you know.
Yeah.
So that's something to remember too.
Yeah. And what I want to show is because this is the I'm going to show your Chase commercial
Mm-hmm.
and because this is essentially what you're teaching at these conferences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is how to teach people how to get on set, do these commands, how to deal with the film directors, how to deal with the
Mm-hmm.
pay, how to deal with finding people, how to build connections. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you cover so much in that week long thing, but I want to show this real quick, so I'm going to share this screen and this is a commercial you did for Chase.
Yeah, it was Chase Bank. Yeah, huh? Yeah, a couple of in 2000, I think 15 or 16, I think.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to play this here so people can see because I think this commercial is just awesome.
Yeah, they want to show kind of like the training of the dogs initially, how's their training, and then of course the finished product. So so we're showing the train now. That now we got a little distance and stuff, and now all of a sudden, yeah, yeah, it was cool. That was a great. It was a shot that in New York City, but they're right there in New York. City. As my dog Duchess. That was her, and she's no longer with us. But yeah, that was a great. It was a great thing.
Yeah, I'll
Really
show
really
that
cool.
one, and I'm going to pull your website back up. So if people want to go to your conferences, and because this podcast will be on a website forever, so but you keep doing these, and you also have other conferences, and you're coming out
Yeah,
with
yeah,
a new book.
we're doing actually. To be honest, if people listening in different areas, we just finished Maryland. There's our second one in Maryland. We're going to be back in Maryland next year. We're already going to
Nice.
do that. This is for the film and TV. We're going to be in Ohio. I believe it's going to be either later on this summer or fall. We're going to be in Ohio. Okay, we're going to be in Dayton area probably. We're going to be back to where you saw us in San Jose probably later on this year as well. And then so we know for sure those three places between now and March of next year. We're going to be back in in Southern Ohio. We're going to be back in it'll be Southern Ohio. It will be Maryland, and it's going to be San Jose.
That is awesome. So I suggest people
Then
genuinely need to do this.
after this one, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, no, I really appreciate Jordan. Yeah, but anybody's interested, and if anybody have any questions, go to my website, send me a message, whatever. If you're there's that contact link right there, and just fill out the form, and you can any questions you guys have, then just ask us, before you sign up, and if see if it's right for you, you know.
awesome. Well, I appreciate you, sir, for coming on to Make Your Dog Epic podcast. I'd love to have you on again soon. I
Yeah,
genuinely, I get so much knowledge every time I talk to you, and your life is so interesting because we could
yeah,
there's so much that you've done, and it's genuinely like each animal I'm interested in because I really like they're so different, but they're so similar in ways,
yeah.
just
Hmm.
based on obviously I've never trained a toucan or a killer whale or a orangutan, but based on what I've heard from you, there's similarities for how
Hmm.
these animals learn, and it's so interesting because once you see it, it's kind of like a pattern. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, and you start
Mm-hmm.
seeing how these animals learn, and then it just progresses your training in all animals as far as what I've learned from you. Would
Yeah.
that be accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally accurate. 100%.
Awesome.
100%. But yeah, so yeah, I'd love to come back and stuff like that. So, but I really appreciate you. Really appreciate coming on, let me come on and promote this thing. And I'll post this actually on my Facebook page as well. So,
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, sir, and I'll talk to you soon.
all right, Jordan, take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Do you need to have your dog professionally trained? Do you need your dog to stop barking at the neighbors? Do you want your dog to stop going potty in the house? Do you want to have an epic and well-trained dog at an affordable price? What makes the Make Your Dog Epic dog training experience unique? At Make Your Dog Epic, your first dog training lesson is just 50 cents, which is less than $1. Make Your Dog Epic is home to the highest rated, most reviewed dog training company in the area. At Make Your Dog Epic, we will beat any competitor's price for similar services. At Make Your Dog Epic, we offer a money-back guarantee. So if the training doesn't work, we never blame you or the dog, it's always our fault. At Make Your Dog Epic, we offer the fastest turnaround time in the industry. That way you can start enjoying time with your epic dog as soon as possible. At Make Your Dog Epic, when you schedule that first lesson with us, we automatically enter you in for a chance to win a dream vacation to Hawaii. Whoa! Which is a lot like Oklahoma, except the weather's different. There's beaches, palm trees. But if you'd rather go to Oklahoma, we can do that as well. How does the Make Your Dog Epic training experience work? When you fill out that form on makeyourdogepic.com, we are going to call you and schedule that first lesson for just 50 cents, which is less than $1. We are going to meet you for that first lesson. That way we can tell you what it's going to take to get your dog to your goals. Because every dog's different and everyone's goals are different. We'll either do one-on-one lessons where it's half dog training, half human training. I'll let you guess which one's harder. Or we're going to do boarding school, where you send your dog with us and we take care of all the homework for you. No matter what you do, we're going to make sure everything transfers to you. Because it's pretty pointless if we get your dog to listen to us, but no one else in your family. Disclaimer, currently we do not offer a service that will get your in-laws to listen to you. You will receive unlimited ongoing group class for the remainder of your dog's epic life. That's because we want to be there for you and your dog forever. We never want you to have to use another trainer after training with us. Our goal is to teach obedience, but never at the expense of the dog's personality, because if we get your dog to listen, but we have to crush its spirit in the process, what's the point? Our motto is it's the same dog, but now it's all ears. You'll now have a well-behaved dog that you can walk or jog with without it channeling its inner sled dog and pulling you down the street. You will have a dog that won't bark at the neighbors or potty in the house. You will be entered in for a contest to win a dream trip to Hawaii that we will be giving away every January. Pow wow whoa, yippee-yo, yippee-yay. Take that first step and schedule that first 50-cent lesson at makeyourdogepic.com. Makeyourdogepic.com.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Let's go now. Let's go now. Here we go now.